And what's really sad is I see people every month who have over hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in a checking because they don't know better. They think that that's safe. The other way it works against you is credit cards. Now I'm hearing they're coming out at like 29%. People wonder why they can't get out of debt, right? But that one thing and that one idea in your brain, it gives you ideas, and it makes you realize that there's things that you don't know, and how, because you don't know, it hurts you, right? Because you can't take advantage of it, or it's working against you.
Every single month when you got to pay the light bill and you don't have it, do you think you're getting stress hormones increase? Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. This is an exciting night. This is about a topic that we don't always like to talk about, but it's something that we really, really need to do. I want to thank you, everybody that showed from the Feel Good, Share Good community, and for those that are connected to Dr. Roni's community, Gabriela and Claudia, and also Shari Larson. So Shari Larson is our guest tonight, and the topic of discussion is wealth health. Wealth health is something that we don't necessarily like to talk about, but it's something that is really important to stay healthy. And we're going to dive into that and some of the opportunities that Shari will share with us on how you can support yourself in making sure that aspect of one of the 7 dimensions of wellness, right, Ellen?
Right.
Right. But there's 7 dimensions of wellness, and I'm going to leverage my expert over here, Ellen Boyer. What are the 7 dimensions of wellness that we have to focus on? Can you give us that list?
I always begin with spiritual because I believe that's the foundation for all health, but it's spiritual, intellectual health, psychological, sometimes referred to as emotional health, physical health, social health. I use occupational health rather than financial because that's a much wider look at how we spend most of our time, and then environmental health.
Thank you, Ellen. And for those that don't know who Ellen was one of our guest speakers, and she's also one of the co-authors of a book that we featured a couple of weeks ago for our spirituality webinar. Like, you can actually go back into our Feel Good, Share Good community, and if you check under the guides, we do actually have a section where you can watch all the recordings. So go back and have a look at it. We are going to be talking a lot about the 7 dimensions of wellness. So thank you for popping in, Ellen, and explaining that to us. I appreciate that. We have our second guest speaker tonight was going to be Dr. Roni. She's a co-host on every single one of these Monday night talks. And so tonight we're going to be handing over the forum to Shari Larson. If you don't know Shari Larson, you need to get to know Shari Larson. It's probably one of the most joyful people I've ever met, and I'm using her term because she uses joy in everything that she transpires and lives. And I met her a couple of years ago when we did a project together, and Dr. Roni, you were part of that project, and I know Shari's one of Dr. Roni's biggest fans. But during that time frame of building that relationship, I got to know her. She has so many hats, and I would like you to explain your background, Shari, because I don't want to butcher all your history because you've got so much history with being an RN and being in the Army and having this financial background, being a mother and being volunteering with your church. You have such a great vast array of knowledge, and I just want to make sure that tonight, for those who don't know who Shari is, that you know how to connect with her after the call, because she's somebody you have to have in your network for many, many things. But tonight we're going to be talking specifically about wealth health and why that's important. And I know she's going to be the right person to introduce that to us, because this is somebody that if I had a problem with anything in my life right now, I'd be reaching out to Shari. Over to you, Shari.
Well, first, I just want to thank Gillian and Dr. Roni and Gabriela and Claudia for entrusting me to come and speak with you this evening. It means a lot. And I'm really honored to be here. As far as my background, I've been married for 43 years. I have 3 children. I'm going to have a baseball team of grandchildren next month. The 9th grandbaby's due next month, and we're really excited about that. The parents invited us to come and be there. I am an RN. I've been in RN. This year's my 41st year, and I still have an active license because in my denomination, you have to have an active license to be a volunteer parish nurse. And that's really important to me, and I do that. And I have a lot of fun with that, a lot of good things, reaching out and helping people. A passion of mine is riding my motorcycle. My husband and I ride Harleys. That's a lot of fun. We meet a lot of interesting people doing that too. And I just enjoy life a lot. And I've been blessed to know Gillian and grown quite a bit. And I'm really delighted to be a part of this group. 2005, someone came to me and said, Shari, had you ever thought about studying money? And I said, it never occurred to me. You know, I didn't grow up with my family talking that way. They didn't talk that way in high school. They didn't teach that. They didn't teach it in college. They didn't teach it in nursing school. They didn't teach it in the military. Never occurred to me. And so then they asked me, well, isn't money important? And I said, yes. You know, my husband and I like a safe home. We like safe cars. We like to give to our community, to our church, and we like to have money to spend to have fun. Yeah, it's kind of important. And they said, well, don't you think you should probably study it? And I said, you're right, I should. And so I did. And it's just been a blessing because, you know, we had a mortgage. When we were introduced, we had 2 car payments. We had debt, other debt too. We just didn't know any better. So everybody lived, right? And so we learned it doesn't have to be that way. And it just makes a big difference. You know, in talking with people and being out there, what are some of the biggest stressors that people have? And it's financial. And that's what causes so much problems for individuals and for families, you know, the biggest stressor. So anything that we can do to help people to alleviate that stress is really important to me. You know, I have a mission of eliminating financial oppression. And that's what it is. You know, it's like a cancer. Causes so many problems. People don't know where to turn, what's true, what's right. And they just don't even have a plan. And so I'm blessed and I get to help with that in all kinds of ways. And just when you're working with someone and then you just see the hope in their eyes and the stress come off because they're not dumb. They just like with Dr. Roni with my nutrition, I'm not dumb. You know, I'm pretty smart, I think, but I just didn't know. And I didn't know who to talk to. Dr. Roni comes in and teaches so that you can understand, so that you know. It's not that you wonder or someone just telling you something you believe, you know. And so it's the same you can have with financial education. You can know so that as you're moving toward those things that are important to you and achieving things that are important to you, it's just fun because you know. I think everybody should be able to have a stress-free life. And I think everybody should know that they can have the type of retirement that they want, that they're going to be able to retire. 90% of the people can't retire. I mean, and that's just sad. And it doesn't have to be that way. Now, retirement just means you have the option to not work. It doesn't mean you stop working, you know. We're very blessed. Someone in the business that I'm in came to our little old town a long time ago. She was 85 when she came. She's been dead 13 years. And she came probably about 4 or 5 years before that. She had a 15-year business plan, everybody, at 85 years old. Now, is that not someone you want to have a conversation with and you want to hang around, you know? And she created generational wealth. And that's what I help people to do too. Her family, she's been gone now 13 years. Her family splits a large amount of money each month, and it's probably going to last another 100 years. And that's because of work that she did. And that's what can be. It's not a pie in the sky. One of the biggest things when I'm meeting with people and talking to them to help them to kind of understand, I spend a lot of time educating people on concepts. Concepts, just basic ideas, basic fundamentals. The biggest one that leads people astray, why there's such a debt crisis and why there's such a retirement crisis, is people have never heard or understand the rule of 72. Raise a hand or in the chats, how many of you have heard of the rule of 72 or the banker's rule? I had never heard of it either. Here's a good thing. You can Google it now when you're done. You know, you can Google that a long time ago. Everybody goes to Google. But if you want to be a part of my group, I have information on it. I have a book in there, and it's on page 15, and it'll show you the rule of 72. And we don't need any charts or anything. It's pretty easy to follow. So here's a good way to put it. What it is you take the interest rate and you divide it into 72, and it tells you how long it's going to take your money to double. So I think we'd all agree that in August, we had many thousands of people in the US who graduated from college, right? There were thousands of them. And I'm sure there were a few that were blessed that someone gave them $10,000 to get off to a good start. So what are we taught growing up? Put your money in the bank, right? The bank's a safe place. And so that's what they do. They put it in there because they don't want to squander it. And banks are so embarrassed. They won't even put their rates out there right now, right? On their savings and checking. Maybe if you're lucky, you get 0.5%. So 0.5% into 72 is 144. So that means in 144 years, that $10,000 will be $20,000. Who's excited about that? No, and that it's worse than you think, because last year inflation was 7%. So you had that working against you, your 10,000. You know, this year 4%. Besides the fact that it's not going to double. So, and what's really sad is I see people every month who have over hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in a checking because they don't know better. They think that that's safe, that's the thing to do, that keeps their money safe. And not only is it not growing, but they're losing because of interest. And so, because of inflation. So I educate people about that. So the banks gladly right now give us 3%, right, on those CDs. Man, they see that posted everywhere, right? With interest rates up, they're giving away 3% on CDs. So then they're tying up our money for a set period of time at 3%. So 3 goes into 72.24, right? So you have 2 doubling periods. So that's for 48 years. We'll just work with 48 years. So that's $40,000 in 48 years. That's better than 20 and 144, but it's not anything you can get excited about, is it? 6% we know we can get all day. 6% into 72 is 12. So that gives you about 5 doubling periods in that 48. So that's going to give you 160,000. That's better, but it's still welcome to Walmart, right? Because you can't do anything with 160,000. You cannot retire with that. So we went from 0.5% to 20,000 to 3% to 40,000 to 6% for 160,000. So now we're going to go 12%. We know we can get 12%. I'm talking about U.S. economy. We have awesome companies here. It's strong no matter what the news says. Great companies doing well. So, but that's where the magic happens is 12%, especially with compounding. So, like I said, we went from 20 to 40 to 160. Who wants to take a guess at what we get at 12%? Where now it's every 6 years, so you have about 8 doubling periods in there. Anybody want to take an educated guess? No. $2.56 million. Now, is that a big difference or what? To not understand about time in the market and the power of that 12% in compounding. It's phenomenal. So now you know how the bank uses it against you. You see why they'll tie up your money at 3%? Because that's what they're doing. They're going out to the economy and they're getting it 12, 14, 16, 18, 30% that you can get. So that's how it works against you when you do not know. The other way it works against you is credit cards. Now I'm hearing they're coming out at like 29%. People wonder why they can't get out of debt, right? Well, you have that doubling still. And when you're making those minimum payments, it's really, really hard to get out of debt. So that's just one concept that I spend a lot of time educating people. But that one thing and that one idea in your brain, it gives you ideas and it makes you realize that there's things that you don't know, and how, because you don't know, it hurts you, right? Because you can't take advantage of it or it's working against you. Another one that people have a hard time understanding too is, for instance, like the need for income protection when you're young. That's the only thing that insurance is for, right? You have your auto, protects your car. Home, protects your your home. Well, life insurance is income protection. And when we were young, like I said, if the two of us were working, because that's what we thought we did, we had family living with us. We had schools we liked our children in, and we both were passionate about what we were doing. So, and that just seemed like what everybody was doing too. And we, like I said, if one of us hadn't come home, it'd have been game over, right? Because we needed both incomes. We didn't know better. We were living paycheck to paycheck with both incomes. So that's a big stressor too. When I run into a lot of families, they know if something happens, it's going to be game over. 85% of widows and widowers under the age of 50 lose their home within 12 months after someone dies. And it doesn't have to be that way. I don't care what country you live in. I don't care what town you live in. We're always hearing about the person who didn't make it home, right? I don't, either it was a heart attack, an accident, or something bad happened, right? And I read an article this past June, actually, about GoFundMe's, because you hear those GoFundMe's, that's like plan A for everybody, right? The average funeral GoFundMe in 2020 didn't even raise $2,000. Was not even 2,000. And I go check in to see how many are around in the area where I live. About every 6 months, I go look, and there's usually anywhere from 30 to 40 of those GoFundMe's out there for various different things, sometimes more, and a lot of them are for funerals. And that plan does not work. And it's just because people don't know, they don't understand. And when we can help them with the income protection, a lot of the stress comes off of them because they know if something happens, they're going to be okay. But, $2,000, it's game over. And again, that doesn't have to be that way. So simple concepts, simple things that we talk to people about, because money is a lack of knowledge of how money works, how finance works is such a big stressor. And like I said, it doesn't have to be that way. We talk with people every day, all the time. And a lot of them have the same story or similar stories, and a lot are quite different. And so I love meeting and speaking with people.
Well, thank you, Shari. I know I put my hand up. I'm one of those ones who get stressed out when it comes to the financial, so like having multiple streams of income is great, but it's what do you do with it when you have it? That's, so you don't lose it so quickly. And you're right about investing correctly, because we just assume by parking it somewhere it's going to be safe, right? But then because we're not as educated, and sometimes it's just a quick tip like what you shared tonight could help somebody grow exponentially and be more secure down in the future, because we don't think about tomorrow. So thank you for sharing that, Shari. So Dr. Roni, I'm sure you've probably, you deal with stress injuries all the time, stress concerns all the time. I know that, and I hear it from so many different people that I'm aware of. What is your viewpoint from a medical practitioner?
Every single moment we have the opportunity to create health and wealth. We have that same opportunity to create disease and poverty. It's just a matter of love, passion, and education. And thank you so much, Shari, because when you speak like that, it inspires me, because I'm also like you, wanting the opportunity to be safe, secure, and financially stable. We're not all looking for riches, right? We just want to be safe and secure. And that is not happening today. Today, we find that so many people are living in poverty or near poverty that's creating so much stress. So their health is being impacted because they're financially unstable and unsafe and insecure. What does stress do to the body? First of all, stress makes you sick, right? So when you're financially unstable, you feel sick. Cortisol is the #1 hormone that's being increased. We have the hypothalamus and we have the adrenals. Those hormones called epinephrine and adrenaline? I'm sure we know about epinephrine and adrenaline. Just imagine every single month when that mortgage comes around, every single month when you got to pay the light bill and you don't have it. Do you think you're getting stress hormones increase? Absolutely. And then it creates this fight or flight syndrome. Remember the fight and flight that we learned in school? Well, what happens to a lot of us is every single day we're in the fight and flight, which means that we're either fighting that stress hormone because we don't know where we're going to get the money from to pay all of these bills. And we don't know how we're going to sustain our health with all of the money that it takes to do all these different supplements, right? But there's the good news that I always want to bring the reality to you, but I also want to bring the good news. This is one thing that I know that is guaranteed. If you take care of your chronic stress, then your wealth will come. And let me tell you how to take care of your chronic stress. First of all, let me tell you what chronic stress feels like. Chronic stress feels like insomnia. You can't sleep. It feels like a headache every single day. We know. How many of you hold your breath all the time because you're feeling chronic stress? How many of you get a cold? Every time you turn around, you got a cold. How many of you have so many allergies you can't even smell certain foods, or you have itchy skin, you have allergies? All of these things are creating what's called chronic stress in the body. Brain fog, acid reflux, IBS, and in addition, those same symptoms causes obesity, high blood pressure, and high stress causes so many different things in the body. So let's figure out first how to stop that vicious cycle. How you stop that vicious cycle is you take care of your immune system, guys. Get on a program to decrease the symptoms that you're having so that you can start working on your wealth, because health is wealth. We are speaking the unspeakable. A lot of people don't want to talk about this, but we have to talk about this. We don't want to talk about money, but we have to talk about money, because it is the money that keeps you safe and secure that's going to help you with your immune system. And it's the immune system that's going to help you financially. It's connected. It's connected. That's why I always tell people, here, go and get my kit. Get this kit. It's going to help you with your immune system. It will give you clarity so that you can put your goals in set so that you can develop your wealth program. That's why we have the community. That's why we're sharing all of this. That's why we have the passion and the love, because without those things, people are sitting back not knowing what to do about their wealth. They're not understanding that it's important to be strong, to have brain focus and memory, to have your immune system so that you can develop the goals to even have the wealth. So a lot of people lost their laughter. They lost the passion and the love. They lost the vibrancy of life, because in the last 3 years, and probably more than that, but certainly the last 3 years, we have been bombarded with a lot of people losing their homes, their cars, and they don't know what to do next. So I'm excited about this whole program, because not only do I have the opportunity to teach you about health, but I also have the opportunity to help you with your wealth. And for me, that's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Very powerful. That's for sure.
So feedback on what Dr. Roni was saying. I'm sure you probably have clients who come in extremely stressed out. How do you handle somebody that is emotionally distraught, or in a situation like that? How would you handle that?
Because the first thing is that you have to be able to, when I said speaking the unspeakable, what I mean by that is you have to allow people to come in and be able to express the unspeakable. There's times when people, they're so lost, Gillian, that it's not just the cancer or the Lyme disease or the obesity or the high blood pressure or the cholesterol. It's all of it. Is they've lost their place in life. They lost their financial stability. They lost homes. They've lost many things. You have to allow them to speak about that, in addition to allowing them to speak about their health, because when you lose your health, those other things you lose as well. Now you have a double whammy. You have to be able to increase your health status. At the same time, you got to hold on to what you have so that you can keep your stability and your security. It's not easy, but one thing's for sure, you can't give up, because again, you can't do without one and the other. It's hard to maintain your health without that wealth. And I know, I wish that I could be saying the opposite, but I've been doing this business long enough to know that I cannot help someone in stage 4 cancer if they have no wealth.
Right? Okay. All right. You know what? And on that note, I think this with health and wealth balance is all those aspects of that 7 dimensions has to be looked at to some degree, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical. You know, we all have to think about each one of them and how it's impacting. And I think it all comes down to the whole central focus of the community and making sure you can reach out to those that care about and trust you. So that starts with Shari introducing herself. And, you know, I care enough about Shari and trust her enough that I would refer Shari to somebody that can help and that needs that help and that guidance. Somebody that may be struggling with their spirituality and not showing where, you know, what they have, they don't know where to go when it comes to their faith. You know, you need to sort of look at who can maybe help them with that. Just like I recommend Dr. Roni when it comes to, you know, a place to go and heal and a place to get counsel when it comes to their, you know, their chronic illness, but even, you know, overall physical concerns. We all have to have somewhere to go. And I want to say thank you for being part of this, Shari, and Dr. Roni and Gabriela and everybody else that comes in as a guest speaker. We're building that community where we can build those 7 dimensions of wellness. And so, Shari, you're right on point. So I just want to verify for you, Shari, before we bring in Gabriela, like how people can reach you. Like ShariKLarson.com, that is your website, correct? And I think we and there, you do have a new Facebook group, which is still just in the early stages. So, but we can still invite them to that group tonight, Shari, is that correct? So, all right, so we'll just make sure that post gets put out into the group so everybody sees it, and then we'll share that inside our Feel Good Share Good community so they know where to go to find you. You know, because I think there's going to be a few people that, you know, no fear, she's a nice person and it may not be a fun topic, but we need to reach out to Shari.
Okay. Thank you, Shari. Thank you, Dr. Roni. Wow, a lot of great information. I really had no idea that you had, or there is something out there that can help us evaluate our financial situation. I mean, right now in the United States, we're going through inflation. I'm sure all over the world because of just everything that's happening. But I mean, here in California, I just know because, I mean, I have property taxes, I have gas. It's just insane. Our prices are just going through the roof. And I mean, like if my kids, they do work minimum paying jobs and they live at home. But you have to have probably 4 people living in a small apartment to make ends meet nowadays. And I believe that the earlier that you start as young adults, the easier it'll be to pick up on good habits when it comes to finances. So, Shari, do you do that? Do you counsel young people on how to manage their finances and acquire wealth?
Absolutely. That's my favorite thing to do, actually. We talk to as many young people as we can. We have the parents get them for us. We go into the high schools and talk to them, and everything we do is no cost. As a matter of fact, I go around saying that every young person should work with me for a year, but even before they go to college or do anything, because then they won't have those mistakes and those issues, right? And they'll have a strong foundation on financial concepts and how they work, and they'll have had opportunity with guidance and coaching to put them into place. Because again, like you said, the younger you start, the better off you are. That's the biggest thing. You know, time, just $10,000, you know, they weren't putting in any more money, shows what $10,000 plus time, leaving it in there does for them, right? Without even adding more. That's the thing that happens. You know, you start to look at a wedding, and a $2,000 wedding dress actually costs you about $56,000 because it wasn't in there for time. People don't think about that when they're looking at their things for their wedding, or that car and that car payment, the same thing. And like you say, we love talking to kids. It's one of our favorite things.
Oh.
You, sorry, they're not kids. My babies are still my kids, and they're in their 30s. You know, so.
Well, my kids are now, my youngest is 21, so they grow up so fast.
They do.
Time for grandkids now. Okay, so first off, to consult with you, it's through your website, right? And if anyone wants to contact you that would like to be basically hire you for your services, would it be through the website? I think we put it up here on the
Shari, yeah, ShariKLarson.com.
My scheduling link is in there.
Okay.
You know, and here's the thing too, my phone number should be everywhere, but if you don't see something, I save times. You know, I don't put all my schedule open for people to book. So if you don't see something, just give me a call, because I work with people. And I will just tell you this, that there's no cost for a complimentary overview whatsoever. And I'm just telling you, this is our philosophy. In our area, to have a plan put together, it costs about $1,500. We don't think that's right. We don't charge. Okay, there's no cost for me to put together a plan for someone. However, know this, that when I sit down and talk with you and you tell me what's going on and what your goals are, what your challenges are, what you want to work on, and we agree the amount of dollars that you have available, that you're going to commit to that. And I go away and I come back with a plan is better than what you're doing, meet your goals, use those dollars. When I come back, before I have left, I'm going to have looked you in the eye and say, I don't want to spend time away from my husband, my fur baby, and my grandbaby's working on this to come back and wonder if you're going to do business with me. If I come back and it's better and you understand it and you agree it's better, I expect to do business when I come back. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And I also tell you this, I can give a book out. I can talk about concepts, but I'm licensed in the United States only. Okay. So that's one thing, but, and I have everything in Spanish too, and a lot in French. So I can still give you things, but I cannot give advice in another country.
Can they still join your Facebook group?
Oh yeah. And I said, the books say the concepts are still concepts, right? It doesn't matter where you are. The idea of time and starting early and the rule of 72, all those work no matter where you are, right? For you or against you. So concepts are concepts, and they're in the book. So, and the book's on my website. You don't even have to wait to talk to me. You can download it. I
wish that part of schooling was actually where we had 7 classes, and each of those 7 classes was all about one of the dimensions of wellness. You know, and then we did like an apprenticeship program where we did learn all these different aspects can help you become a complete, you know, contributing youth towards their whole. So every single aspect of their life is covered. You know, we've lost that skill set, and it's almost like it'd be something cool long term. You get certified to become a detox coach, you get certified to become a financial assistant, but what about a certification in all aspects of wellness, so you can be a solid, you know, contributor and healthier human being down the road? You know, I think every time I'm listening to somebody else, I wish somebody had introduced those aspects to me when I was growing up. Right? You know, and every single time we have these talks and we develop these talks, I learned something. And it may not be my focus, but I'm learning about that. I may have a gap in my who I am, or how I've trained my, you know, people I've worked with, or I see something of a value. So Shari, I just want to say thank you for tonight. And remember, you can reach out to Shari through ShariKLarson.com, but we'll make sure that gets put into the comment sections in the Feel Good Share Good community. And we'll also link her to her own Facebook group that she has, where she's going to be loading relevant information that she's talked about even tonight inside that community. So you can join that one if you'd like to. Let's give Shari a big round of applause for sharing her knowledge tonight. So thank you, everybody. Next week, we will be having Siobhan Shaw, who is here tonight from Growing to Give. So tell me what's happening next week. What are we to expect from you, my darling?
We are going to talk about the power of growing our own food and understanding food insecurity. We think that it's just for marginalized communities, but we all have, there's an opportunity that we'll all feel it one day. So we're going to link that to agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and getting communities sort of bonded together in becoming more resilient, growing their own food, understanding, you know, prepping their own food, canning and preserving their food. And if we have time, we can even get into, you know, talking about systems to do that. But my focus is growing your own food with your community, for your community, and becoming the most resilient community or neighborhood, city that you can be, because nobody should be going to bed hungry. And if the trucks stop, you don't want to know how bad it's going to get.
Yes. Thank you. Absolutely.
That's a great topic, and I'm looking forward to that. And that's near and dear to my heart. And I will be launching something with that next week as well. So thank you everybody tonight for showing up. And I want to say thank you again, Shari, if you want to close us out, and then we'll end the evening. Okay.
Yes.
I was just going to say one thing I didn't bring up was, especially with women, and why I really have a heart for women, you know, as moms, we have breaks in our, but besides salary gap, which is being changed, which makes us have less for retirement, we have breaks in our work history, right? Because we have kids, or we're caring for others, or our spouses' jobs go different places, and so we're always restarting. And so we're not either building up our Social Security even, or even our retirement. And so that's sometimes why women do not have as much saved for retirement, and they have concerns too. And those are things to be addressed earlier is always better, right? And that's why women have a little harder time with retirement too. And so I like to help them see that we can make it so it's going to be okay, and they need to be proud of what they have accomplished. Always be proud of what you have accomplished, you know, because a lot of people don't save anything. Most people are $1,000 away from a true crisis. They don't even have $1,000 saved, you know. So anyway, proud to be out, proud to be here, and looking forward to next week's fun.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So I'm just going to say good night to everybody. Thanks again for showing up. And for those on Facebook Live, thanks for joining us. And like, if you have any questions, please message me or message Shari Larson directly. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Bye.